time for section 1 from our lovely book called You, and this one is known as Planetary Vibrations. This book is pretty long, the chapters are pretty lengthy, so I'm going to be doing it in 20-minute increments. Okay, and once 20 minutes is up, I'm going to record again the next part of the video. So let me go ahead and set my timer, because we get so engrossed in reading, we have no idea it's already been 40 minutes since we've started the video, so let's get started. Section 1, Planetary Vibrations. So in the introduction, he was talking about these 7 planets, how each and every single one of them take up vibrations that are being released from the sun. At the same time, each one of these planets is rotating on their own axis, okay, throwing off vibrations in spiral form and creating their own vibrations within the solar ether. Okay, and we're going to learn a little bit more about it right here. So Section 1, Planetary Vibrations. At birth you received a certain vibrations consisting of the combinations of ethereal vibrations existing at the moment. This vibration was impressed upon you very much as a note from an orchestra may be transmitted by the stylus of a phonograph to the sensitive wax receiver, with every single note and every shade of tone intact. Thus, the time of birth determined the nature and intensity of the vibrations which are apparent in your mental, moral, spiritual, and physical characteristics, and these in turn indicate the character, environment, and opportunities which will come to you. This does not mean that you are to flounder in a morass of destructive fatalism. On the contrary, it is simply indicative of the opportunities which will be presented or the temptations which will come. There is no denial of self-determination or free will. You may use the characteristics given to you at birth, or change them as you will. Now it's very interesting, because if you're not into astrology or horoscopes, this is essentially what everything is that astrology talks about, you know, the planetary vibrations. And me, I'm an Aquarius, so Aquarians like me were born at certain times with certain vibrations within the air, okay, and the nature of those vibrations got instilled within us, and for our, our natural characteristics, and we have the ability to take those characteristics and grow with them, or not to, okay, and create other characteristics of our own. Okay, that is how we have. That is one, how do you say it? Subject, I guess you could say, of which we have also been given dominion over. We have the ability to choose to, just that in general. We have the ability to choose. The particular nature of the vibrations which you received at birth are but the tools of the workman, and the one who becomes the ruler of his stars is the one. Hold on, let me read that part again. The particular nature of the vibrations which you received at birth are but the tools of the workman, and you are the workman. And the one who becomes the, quote, ruler of his stars, end quote, is the one who does not complain, because he was given a violin rather than a harp. For each piece is necessary in the grand symphony of life. Just be you, because nobody can be you better than you can. Because if you have been given a violin, don't worry about not having a harp. Play your violin. But because there is that within you by which you may transcend environment and heredity, is this any reason for withholding from you the nature of the implements upon which you must depend? Would you not rather have the most complete information possible concerning the tools with which you must carve out the destiny which is yours? Will the one who knows nothing of the dangers and pitfalls which lie before him have a better opportunity than the one who has a map with which these dangers carefully charted? It requires superior wisdom to be the custodian of wisdom, and your ability to obtain is conditioned on your ability to attain. Fear becomes the parent of superstition, the insurmountable barrier to realization. It requires superior wisdom to be the custodian of wisdom. You have to gain the wisdom in order to be able to teach the wisdom to somebody else. And your ability to obtain is conditioned upon your ability to attain, or your ability to bring things and manifest them in your life is your ability to actually attain the necessary information and the wisdom and knowledge required to actually obtain those things necessary to manifest in your life. And fear is the parent of superstition. It is the cloud which hides your own personal sun, the insurmountable barrier to realization. When the sun is in major aspect with any planet, the individual nature and quality of such planet is conjoined with the terrestrial magnetism, hence the zodiac. The space in which the various planets move hold in solution every element to which your body is composed. The sun is a distributor of all life, and therefore contains the essence of which all the planets are composed, each of which expresses one of the factors evolved from the cosmic system. So each planet has its own ruling thing, its own ruling phase. Each planet has its own characteristics within the solar system, even though each planet, it's themselves arised from the solar system in general. Okay, the sun, for example. Then each planet acts as a reflector for one of the 7 dominant rays of the sun. After their cycle of differentiation and accomplishment has been completed, they are again gathered up and united to the one great white light. Your 7 chakras are also representations of the 7 colors of the solar system, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. And there's also indigo and violet or white, as he is saying right here, because these 7 spectrums of these 7 colors of the light spectrums are the only 7 colors that we are even able to see, and these 7 colors are represented by our 7 gates, our energy systems within the body. The sun is the creative center. It contains the primal germ of mind. And being the creative center, it is manifested as the spirit. You and I are spiritual beings. We have our own center of creation within ourselves. That is who we are. It contains the primal germ of mind. Okay, and mind is what shapes and controls all of matter. It is the unmanifest, during time inconceivable. This unmanifest has been manifesting, and that which has become manifest is the planetary system or divine creation. God is that which is unmanifest and that which is manifest. For all things that are created inside and out of God are all manifestations of expression of that which is inside and out of God, like the sun, therefore, contains within itself the essence of all the planets, and they themselves are but the medium through which and by which the forces of the sun are differentiated. Manifestation in the objective proceeds through the operation of the principles of construction and differentiation. Life is the process by which the ethereal substance, which scintillates from the center of the molecule, manifests in form. The ethereal substance which scintillates, which is present, it is present from the center of a molecule, and that manifests in form. The vibrations received from the sun represent the principle of immortality, your spirit, your soul. They are pure being or life itself. The vibrations received from the moon represent the mortal, or all that comprise the personality, all that is mortal, in other words, the body. Thus the vibrations from the sun and moon manifest as spirit and matter, soul and body. The vibrations from Mercury manifest as intellect or mind, from Venus as love and emotion, from Mars as energy and force, from Jupiter as sympathy and devotion, from Saturn as perseverance and tenacity, from Uranus as renewal and change, from Neptune as religion and mysticism, and from the Earth as materialism and disintegration. The ancients knew the moon as Isis, the queen of heaven. It represents the mother or the female principle of life, and is essentially feminine. It may be termed the giver of form. The influence of the moon upon tides, planting and upon all unborn life has been known to the world for countless ages. Its peculiar influence upon women is well known, yet seldom connected with the fact. And physicians are beginning to realize that most diseases have certain cycles of periodicity, which may be directly attributed to the moon's motions, and that fact was familiar to the wise men of all past ages. Its rapid transit through the heavens brings to a focus the many aspects, good and bad, found in every person, dormant perhaps until an angle is formed, which sets in motion vibrations beyond human control. Thus we have the sudden accidents, the flare of ungoverned temper, and likewise the never-to-be-forgotten moments of ecstasy. The rays of the sun are differentiated through the spleen. The altered conditions of the sun's rays become vitality, and is a force downward. In the same way, the mind is the elemental essence which is pouring down into manifestation, and as it passes through our brain, we specialize or educate it, molding it by our will into the thought forms which constitute thought and lead finally to actions. Now remember, consciousness, he said, was the inner, the inner manifestation of mind, and thought being the outer manifestation of mind. We are all this consciousness. In our real state of being, we just simply are. We are this substance in static motion, and as we think, we are putting this energy, this mind, this intelligence of ours into dynamic form, and it is thought which creates things. It is a thought form. This rock used to be a thought form in somebody's mind, in their imagination, and they took the necessary actions necessary to actually create this laughing rock thought form into material form. And as it passes through our brain, we specialize or educate it, molding it by our will. And what have we learned about the will? Okay, the will is our power to hold our thoughts steadily to a purpose, to keep our thoughts on one specific thing until the law of growth comes into play. And remember, when it grows, as we are planting that seed into our own mind, we have to keep planting it. We have to keep watering that seed with our own thoughts in order until it grows more and more into a plant. And when it becomes more and more of a plant, it becomes more, habitual. It becomes more, it starts to give off its fruits, and you no longer have to consciously think about it. It just becomes a part of who you are, your character. Molding it by our will into the thought forms which constitute thought and lead finally to action. Every body attracts every other body in proportion to its mass, and adversely in accordance with the distance. Okay, that being said, the only reason why all of us are still on this planet is because the gravity of the planet is greater than our personal gravity. Okay, if we were both out in space, me and you out in the middle of the galaxy, we would be attracted towards each other. But whoever has more density out in space, that is the person that is being pulled towards the other person. Okay, and the fact that planet Earth has more gravity than we do personally, more mass, that is why all of us are continuously being pulled onto the Earth. For this reason, the Sun has a greater influence upon Mercury than upon Mars, more influence upon Venus than upon the Earth, and more upon Mars than upon Jupiter, and more upon Saturn than upon Uranus. And he's saying that is so because Mercury is closer to the Sun than Mars is. Okay, Venus is closer to the Sun than Earth is, and Earth is closer to the Sun than Mars is, and Mars is closer to the Sun than Jupiter is, and so on and so forth. Okay, and it's this distance between the planets which causes each and every single one of them to have a specific, specific gestures, a specific what is this word? Influence. There we go. A specific influence on the planets because they're more influenced by the Sun because of how close they are within distance from the other planets. To meet this situation, the planets which lie near the Sun must revolve more rapidly, We therefore find Mercury moving in its orbit at the rate of 35 miles per second, Venus 22 miles per second, and Earth 18 miles per second. Mars at 14 miles per second, Jupiter at 8 miles, Uranus at 4, and Neptune at 3. Light, heat, sound, color, power, electricity, vegetation, health, sickness, all physical phenomena, the tides, wireless, and the radio, are but manifestations of vibrations. They are manifestations of this energy, but they are not the energy itself. And the various planets are immense masses of metal, gases, and chemicals which cause vibrations to which we respond, in which the same way as the loop aerial of the radio picks up the various stations. So these planets all each have their own electromagnetic vibrations, okay, and we are living on this planet, and we are being influenced by the electromagnetic vibrations that are all being accumulated within planet Earth. And since our physical being comes from planet Earth, we also have our own electromagnetic field ourselves, and we're actually learning about that. In science nowadays is actually figuring that out. And the heart being the greatest center of distribution within the body, it is the heart which gives off immense electromagnetic waves, far more powerful than our own brain. It is the heart, and that's why you got to follow your heart, because it is this thing knows. This thing is what registers the vibrations of the atmosphere. Truly. That's why you got to follow your heart, because it knows. Because what's in your mind may escape you, but what's in your heart will remain forever. As these planets change their relative positions from time to time, the radio of their vibrations changes, and certain vibrations grow stronger while others decrease. For this reason, when you first breathe, that with the first breath that you took, every fiber of your every fiber of your being became impregnated with magnetic influences, and that personality is stamped upon you indelibly for all time. Subtle vibrations always manifesting in exact accordance with the location of the various planets, and the consequent vibrations existing in the ether at the moment of birth. Thus it is that the scientific knowing the exact hour of birth, the location, and the date is able to calculate with an amount of accuracy limited only by his personal knowledge and experience the exact positions of the planets, and give a judgment therefrom. As all change is the result of motion, there are three movements to be considered. First, the revolution of the earth around the sun. This is completed in 1 year. Second, the revolution of the moon around the earth. This is completed in 1 month. And third, the rotation of the earth upon its own axis. This is completed in 1 day. The cycle of the revolution of the earth around the sun is its zodiac. In this cycle, then are 4 seasons, as the earth enters the 4 cardinal signs: Aries about March 21st, Cancer about June 21st, Libra about September 21st, and Capricorn about December 21st. The 4 points of sunrise, noon, sunset, and midnight are positions of marked change, because they indicate when one influence or combination of influence ends and another begins. Day begins at sunrise, so that the sign or constellation which is on the ascendant or first zone at the commencement of your life has within it all the possibilities which can be subsequently manifested, just as the future course of a stone is determined by the amount of energy imparted to it by the hand when it is thrown into the air. Wow. So as he is saying, when you first breathe, the first air you take, you're being impressed by all the vibrations within the atmosphere at that current moment in time. And And since day begins at sunrise, so that the sun or constellation, which is in the ascendant or first zone at the commencement of your life, has within all the possibilities which can be subsequently manifested. So all of the characteristics and potentialities that each one of these vibrations that are being emanated from the planet and that which you receive from birth are all possibilities which are subsequently manifested. They're they have the possibility to be manifested, just as he is saying, like when you throw a stone, the future course of that stone is going to be determined by the amount of energy that is being given off by your hand. Wow, it's already been 20 minutes. Hold on, let me see how much time we have. Okay. So let's end this one right here, and let's continue on right